Welcome to another one-shot panel brought to you by the students of S.H.I.E.L.D. I'm Mikey, and joining me today are my panelists, Alec and Rose. And today, people, we are back at it again with another panel talking about our review for the Marvel Studios series on Disney Plus, Loki. And we're going to be talking about episodes 1 through 3 today, obviously, because the show's only like halfway done. So, yeah, thanks, Alec and Rose, for joining me today. Appreciate it. Yeah, so we'll just get right to it. Obviously the show Loki, Disney Plus, Tom Hiddleston, Owen Wilson, all that jazz. So we'll just start with our first impressions of the show so far. So who wants to start off? First impressions.
I'll start. I generally don't complain about the Marvel content that it puts out. I don't have any problems, but I don't have any problems with this. It was really fun to watch. It's just interesting, and I remember people were like, "Oh, if this Loki's going to be different from the Loki we've seen in MCU throughout for the entire time up until he got killed by Thanos in Infinity War."
Yeah.
So he's not going to be as interesting or something, but they kind of solved that in the first episode, so that was neat.
They did.
I really liked it. I really like this series a lot.
Yeah.
I remember when I was watching The Falcon and the Winter Soldier, I was like, oh, this is great. But sometimes my attention would drift. But for Loki, my attention's been there the entire time.
That's good. That's great. Alec, you want to give your first impressions?
Well, it's something I've mentioned in the previous shows. It's in the reviews. Is that every show should have its own voice and its own thing that separates it from the other installments in the MCU. And now we are 3 shows in with Loki. And I said this upon seeing the 3rd episode, and I'll say it now. This show so far, we're halfway through it, but it's probably my favorite.
Mm-hmm.
It's of the 3 so far. It's my favorite. It's because it gets your mind moving, and I think compared to WandaVision and Falcon and the Winter Soldier, you start to. I think it is certainly a show that you start to understand a lot better. It's on the second viewing, because the first viewing, it can be very confusing because, as any show can happen, it involves time, and time can be very confusing for a lot of people. But my first impression was it's not afraid to hold the audience's hand. Oh no, I take that back. It doesn't really hold the audience's hand too much, and I like that a lot. And so far, I'm very impressed with it, and it's probably my favorite one so far, halfway through.
All right. Well, I'll say this: just my first impressions. I mean, both of you were there, and we did our almost 4 hour long Marvel podcast, right? You both were there. Which I still apologize for, but it was still one of my favorite podcasts we've done. But I said this before. I was like, when this show was announced, I didn't care because I'm just okay, Loki show. Why is Loki getting a show? I don't care about Loki that much. I think he's a great character, but I'm not going to be the guy first in line for a Loki television show.
Mm-hmm.
Then that first trailer dropped, and I was like, okay, I'm fucking sold, because I knew that it was gonna take itself too seriously, obviously, because Thor Ragnarok kind of changed the game with the Asgardians not being serious and had more humor, and it's more whimsical. So seeing that first trailer, I was like, okay, I'm I'm very excited for the show. It's probably most anticipated show out of all of them for me. Like, was from the early draft of the Disney Plus slate. And yeah, so when I first when watching the show so far, I'm digging. As again what Rose said, like a lot of people were complaining, like how are they gonna make this like different? Obviously, because like it's a variant of Loki. All that progress from Thor 1 towards Infinity War is gone. So how's that gonna work? And so far, and what Alex said, like they kind of like solved that issue like in the first episode, which I think is great. I'm liking the mystery that's going on, not just with the villain of which we'll talk about, but like what the TVA actually is. Like I'm really digging that aspect, and all the characters are great because it has a really great cast. And I'm loving, Tom Hiddleston and like Owen Wilson being like basically just like Marvel's Rick and Morty. I like that a lot. So. So yeah, for first, that's my first impression. I'm really digging the show. Like I'm really digging it. But yeah. So anyone else has any other thoughts before we move on to like just talk about each episode in detail? No one. All right. So yeah, we'll just start off. So obviously, episode 1 is titled "Glorious Purpose," and I have a ton of notes because this episode is so like exposition heavy, and there's a lot of like Easter eggs and stuff, and like that I think are like really cool that happens. So obviously we'll just start off with Loki escaping with the Tesseract. Again, it's just the same scene that we saw from Avengers Endgame, where they try to steal the Infinity Stones, and Loki gets his hands on the Tesseract due to Hulk being a crybaby, and he escapes. So yeah, so and it ends up him. I think this was in the Gobi Desert. I don't remember where. I think that's like somewhere like in like Mongolia. I think that's where the Gobi Desert is. I could be wrong.
I think it did say that it was in Mongolia, but I don't remember for sure.
Gotcha.
My head.
Yeah, so he wakes up in the Gobi Desert, and it's just like, yo, where the hell am I? And that's when the TVA show up, and we get introduced to Hunter B-15. Yeah, Hunter B-15. Played by Wumni Mosaku, who is who I know from Lovecraft Country. If anyone ever watched Lovecraft Country, which is a great show. But yeah, so she basically like arrests him and takes him into the TVA, and that's when he gets through the whole how he gets ready for his trial. I think is the funniest thing. They strip him naked and have him wear the TVA variant like jumpsuit, and then he has to sign a document that basically says like, okay, make sure this is everything you've ever said, and then he just keeps talking and it just puts another sheet out. I think it's so great. But yeah, there's that, and then the temporal aura thing, which again we'll talk about, like the whole what the temporal aura thing actually means, and how like if. And decided like, what if I'm a robot and wouldn't know it, because he has to go through like what's the thing called that you always find like in airports. It's
metal detector.
Yeah, a metal detector, but it detects if you're a robot. And if you're a robot, it just like melts you down from the inside out. And it's like, but what if I'm a robot and I just didn't know it? It's just a 6 step through it, and
instead of metal, it's organ detector.
It's organ, yeah, basically, which is very interesting. It's an interesting take. And then a picture prints out of his temporal aura. And that's what happens next, and then we get the line thing with the tickets. That was really funny. I like that scene a lot. And he gets the ticket. The other guy who also got in with Loki, who is just a normal dude, I assume, doesn't get one, and he gets pruned, which basically like is when you're blinked out of existence, basically. And we get the whole Miss Minutes intro video, and there's a lot of stuff in the Miss Minutes intro video. So, and Miss Minutes is like this cartoon, like hologram thing that's voiced by like Tara Strong. If you don't know who Tara Strong is, she voiced like our entire childhood. So, yeah, there's that. But so basically, like from what I got out of this, there's there was a multiverse. So there was like a bunch of timelines going on that were like erratic and very difficult to control, that started like a multiversal war. And so then who saves the day because multiversal wars are bad. The Timekeepers, and it's just these three dudes who basically merge the multiverse into one single timeline that everyone refers to in the TVA as the sacred timeline. And then they basically explain what a variant is, and a variant is a person that veers off the path of the sacred timeline. That basically it's just explaining like how a multiverse can basically happen, or like a branch universe can basically happen. And if a variant continues to exist, that will lead to a Nexus event, and if a Nexus event is unchecked, then it will lead to the whole multiversal war happening. And Nexus, again, if people who watch WandaVision, Wanda is a Nexus being. So again, it's just connecting those dots. And the Timekeepers created the TVA to basically like enforce and dictate their like rule over like the sacred timeline. And also it's important that the TVA workers were also created by the TVA as well, which we'll find out later. That's total bullshit. And yeah, that's basically like the whole video. And then we get introduced to Agent Mobius, who's played by Owen Wilson, who was like, honestly, he's my favorite character. I like Mobius a lot more than Loki, even though Loki's great, but I love Agent Mobius. And there's a scene where he is basically he's investigating this variant murdering Minutemen, which are like the TVA soldiers. And it's and it's in, I think it said I wrote it on my notes, 1549 France is where this takes place. And he runs into this child who was a witness to these murders and asks who did it, and points to a mural that looks like the devil. So it says like the devil's doing it. And Alec, I don't even remember, but like that was when people were saying, oh, like Mephisto's gonna be in this freaking show, and I was like, it's just whatever. But yeah, so this child also has like this kablooey bubble gum, and like has like his mouth, which makes her mouth blue. So like that's a thing that will tie into like the second episode, basically about where this bubble gum comes from. And so there's that, and then it goes to Loki's sentencing. Which is like the next scene, which I forgot to show here like the Timekeepers. I'm gonna have, when we go to theories, I have a theory about who one of the Timekeepers is, because I think it's kind of obvious. But but we'll talk about that. So then we get introduced to Judge Renslayer, who's played by Gugu Mbatha-Raw, who I'm like a really big fan of. You've probably seen her like in Black Mirror. Everyone knows her from Black Mirror. But yeah, she basically is sentencing Loki. Loki's like, I'm innocent. I didn't really do anything wrong. And she says he basically blames the Avengers for what happened. Like, listen, the Avengers are the real bad guys here. I'm just doing me. You should go after them. I'll even help you go after them. Just give me a task force or whatever, and we'll hunt them down. And she's like, nah. And here's the most interesting thing that I want to talk about just real quick. She reveals, I think it's really important, that Endgame happening was supposed to happen, which I feel like kind of bothers me a little bit. Like, what are your thoughts on that? Like the fact that Endgame was a part of the sacred timeline according to like the Timekeepers.
I don't know if we should. I don't know if that can be. I don't know if that can be set aside yet, because we still have a lot. I think because we still have a lot to learn more about, how true is the TVA based on the stuff we learned in episode 3.
Mm-hmm, that's true.
So I don't want to say anything conclusive about that yet, because the TVA, it doesn't seem like they are who they say they are.
Yeah, exactly.
I mean, like, I honestly, when I don't mind that they said that. I sometimes it feels like this is kind of odd. Sometimes it feels So sometimes it feels like the internet turned on Endgame and was like, "Oh, this sucks" or something like that. But like, I don't care. It's whatever. I think all the Marvel movies I've watched, I've liked, and all the Marvel stuff I've watched, I liked. It's whatever. I'm fine. It's good. Whatever.
Exactly. It's funny because like a lot of people were just like, even when that scene happened, people always were like, "Oh, but like, why did the TVA go after the Avengers during Endgame?" They're just like, they literally explained that it was a part of the sacred timeline. That's why they didn't do anything. It was supposed to happen. So yeah, I just wanted to just address that point. But yeah, but like, you know, and there's like a constant theme here where it's like Loki just like constantly like wants to request to seek counsel with the timekeeper to talk to them directly because, you know, they're gods, he's a god, it's whatever, but he's obviously denied. And then the dope thing is that magic doesn't work in the TVA because he tries to use his powers, but they just don't work, and he's just like, what on earth? And like everyone's laughing, and I think it's a very funny scene. But then, you know, he is sentenced to being guilty and is about to be arrested to be quote unquote reset. And you know, that's when like essentially like Mobius like comes in and is like, wait a minute, we could use him. Just give him to my custody. I know exactly what to do with him. Then that's gonna be revealed like later on. But Mobius then, you know, interrogates Loki for a little bit. Wants to know why he likes hurting people. So then it's trying to like do like a whole character study of like why Loki does what he does. And we get this. I didn't put an image of it here, but we get the greatest scene, which is what we were commenting on. We did the Marvel podcast, which was that Loki is DB Cooper, and that was so great.
It's confirmed, people. It's what history doesn't want us to know. So
yeah, no.
Someone contact Shane and Ryan from BuzzFeed Unsolved. We solved it. Marvel solved it.
I think they did a video actually discussing how like, wait a minute, guys, people were just telling us that Loki's DB Cooper, so I guess we have to like. I think they talked about it. I thought it was really funny. But yeah, and it's funny because he revealed that like, yeah, he did the whole DB Cooper thing because he lost a bet to Thor and Heimdall. I thought it was so funny.
Mm-hmm.
Oh gosh, man. But yeah, so the whole DB Cooper scene, which happens, and then like here are my notes. And the thing was like, what's very interesting is like Loki's all about like with his character, Loki's all about like free will. I think is very interesting. Which is like I would compare him to like if anyone watches like Lucifer Morningstar in that show is again he's always grounded on the idea of free will and the fact that like the timekeepers quote unquote has predestined his entire life. He does not like because again Mobius is showing his life from he's showing what like happened in Avengers 1, what happened in Thor: The Dark World with the death of like his mother, all that stuff. And that like bothers him like immensely. So then at some point later down the line, Loki escapes. He finds Casey, who Casey was the attendant, like not the attendant, the secretary for the TVA. And because it's Casey was tasked to like secure the Tesseract. And we find out this is like huge. I was like, dude, this is I kind of like this. The fact that like Infinity Stones don't work, and they have a bunch of them. They have tons of like Infinity Stones that they use as paperweights, which I think is hilarious. So then, and also like he asks Casey like what a fish is, and he doesn't know what a fish is, which is like also kind of sketch, which we'll tie into later on. And now knowing that Infinities don't work, if Infinity Stones don't work, magic doesn't work, that like this is the ultimate power in the universe. I need to know now that's Loki's goal for the rest of the show is trying to figure out how he can basically overthrow the timekeepers and keep this shit for himself. Dude, classic Loki. And after that he like again sees the rest of his life from beginning to end, which is important because he sees like the stuff that happened in Thor Ragnarok, so with the death of Odin happening, and and as well as like Thor's remarks towards Loki, and then like rekindling their brotherhood, which I think is very important. But most importantly, the fact that like he sees his own death by Thanos at the end of beginning of Infinity War. My fault. which is very traumatizing. So then he realized that my life has been meaningless. And he just that his whole idea of glorious purpose was, which is again title of the episode, was kind of bullshit because his life doesn't end the way he wants it to. And then when he's talking to Mobius, he basically reveals the reason why he hurts people is to because hurting people is a part of the illusion, because again it's a god of mischief. So the fact that the illusion basically being motivating the weak will basically motivate, as I think it said, motivating the weak to through by inspiring them by fear. And basically Mobius reveals oh yeah, it's kind of like a control mechanism. He does this to have control over something. And yeah, so after that exchange, basically he realizing, so we're gonna basically use you as a consultant because no one knows, because the variant we're tracking down is actually a variant of you. And yeah, so that's basically the whole villain of the series going forward, is this other Loki variant that Loki and the TVA have to track down. So that's basically end of episode 1. So what are your thoughts on this episode? I thought it was very good, very plot heavy, very expositional, but very, very, very strong for the most part.
I really like this series, so I really liked it. I thought it was interesting how they handled everything. There was people online I've seen comparing it to Doctor Who, and
yeah, that's a really good comparison, actually.
Yeah, and there's also this show from I think it's a Spanish show called El Ministerio del Tiempo, and and the TVA kind of reminds me of that, because it's not like Doctor Who where they're traveling in a time machine. They're walking through doors, and that's like that's like El Ministerio del Tiempo, and that's kind of how, and they just walk through doors to go to different time periods and stuff for that show, and they do it for this show too, and I didn't make that connection until people start saying, hey, this reminds me of Doctor Who, and I was like, hey, reminding that of Doctor Who reminds me of this show.
Exactly. All right. Yeah, that's a good point. It's very Doctor Who-y. Like I'm not really the biggest Doctor Who fan, but I've watched some Doctor Who, and I can very well compare this show to Doctor Who 100%. Alex, do you have any thoughts on the first episode?
Something I said to myself after the end of the first episode was man, that was a very confident first episode. It's been the head writer and well, it's the writers and director have said that they are big Loki fans. I think the main director, Kate Herron, I think her name is.
Yeah.
She said that she has been a big fan of Loki for a long time, and now to have her finally helm her own series is cathartic, I'd say. But this episode, I thought it was a very confident episode. It knew what it wanted to be. It didn't hold the audience's hand. It was designed for people who knew what show they were getting into. And that is why I say it was a very confident season, show opener, I thought. The first scene with Loki, it's with the stuff we saw from Endgame, which I believe they used some repurposed film from Endgame with Loki having to wave to Hulk in there.
Mm-hmm.
That wasn't in Endgame. I think it was a shot that wasn't used, or maybe they, framed it differently. So some altered archive footage I thought was very neat. And yeah, so again, Mikey, it's like you said, it was a very plot-heavy episode with missed minutes. dropping a lot of lore, and it was, you know, it was great. It, as someone who likes hearing, you know, it's the certain actors who are in the voice acting industry get mainstream work is super cool to see. Seeing Tara Strong's name is in the credits was very nice. I like, oh my god, like my childhood is getting, well, like, you know, it's not that she's not famous, but like, but seeing her, you know, get credited, it's in something mainstream was nice to see. With Miss Minutes and the Timekeepers and the Wall Street guy getting erased was very fun to see. And seeing Loki be, and something I think the show nailed right was that how do they maintain character and continuity is with Loki, because he hasn't lived through the events of the movies. It's only Thor 1 and Avengers. And seeing Loki kind of be evil still was very, like, it's very, it's great to see that maintained. I mean, it's simple continuity, but his relationship with Mobius, Tom Hiddleston, and with Owen Wilson have great chemistry. It's like the partner chemistry I thought was nice, and something else I liked about this episode was, and also seeing the world of the TVA. It's the outside window. It seems like a floating city as far as the eye can see in space, or something like that. Because it seems like it's established that that with the stones not working and with magic, it seems like the TVA, it's wherever it is outside the known universe, maybe?
Yeah, I mean, that's what it looks like. I mean, it could be like, I don't know, like in like another like pocket dimension, maybe.
I think that's what they said. I think they said it was a pocket dimension, and maybe they said that in episode 2. I'm pretty sure they say it's either outside, like it's outside of time, or it's in another dimension.
Okay, that makes sense. And also, too, something else I loved about this episode, it's that you mentioned, Mikey, is with the Mobius showing Loki his life, his glorious purpose, and showing how it all culminates to him being also destroyed by someone who can be deemed a god as well. He's killed by another god because he says Thanos is never see a god. I enjoyed like it was super cool to see seeing Loki, seeing his ego get completely deconstructed and destroyed. Not that, like, you know, it's fun to see him get torn apart, but seeing Loki break down for a first episode of a show, I don't know, it's something about it that's like, oh my god, now we're starting off like, you know, it's how this is. It's like it's the seeing Loki get torn apart mentally was something I did not expect seeing off the top of the bat, honestly. And again, that adds to me saying it felt like a very confident first episode. But yeah, and seeing how seeing him see his life go by and him die, and seeing the note and the file and just nothingness was very it's very bittersweet. And,
it is.
And him knowing that his life had ultimately not what he expected it to be was very it was a lot. It was a lot.
I remember seeing someone, I think on Tumblr, say that the file didn't end until it was like Thor hugging Loki, and someone said that's the last thing that Loki felt. That's the last thing Loki felt before he died, or something like that.
Damn, I didn't actually not notice that. But yeah, no, this episode's really good. It's very good. That deconstruction of that of Loki was phenomenal. It's one of my favorite parts of the whole show. Was just the whole episode was just like that deconstruction of his life, and that it wasn't what he expected, and it's just I thought it was so good. But yeah, so I'm good for episode 1. I want to move on to episode 2. All right, cool. So episode 2 of Loki, titled The Variant. So this episode basically starts off with um this Loki variant basically like kidnapping this I think it's like her name's like it's like C20, that's her name, who's played by Sasha Lane, who you might know from the unfortunate Hellboy reboot that they tried to do. But yeah, so she gets, and this takes place in a Renaissance fair in I think 1985. And you know, the Loki variant basically like shows the ability to possess other people or quote unquote enchant other people. That's foreshadowing. But yeah, she basically like enchants this C20 and basically like, kills all the have her kill all of the Minutemen, and so that's basically how the episode starts off. And yeah, so then basically like, it continues with Loki with Miss Minutes teaching Loki like the history of like the TVA and all that stuff. Well, the history that you know the TVA wants Loki to know, and how you know the timeline works and how you know, Nexus events work. And I thought it was very interesting seeing like you know having like you know not only is Miss Minutes like a actual like video presentation, but an actual like physical hologram you can actually talk to. That was really cool to see as well. And you know, right when then Loki gets his really cool jacket by Mobius, which I love. I want this jacket, the one that has the variant that says variant on the back, and it was really cool.
I can see that being a big Comic-Con thing
where a bunch of
people. Oh my! Wait, that's gonna be really. It's gonna be really fun when Comic-Con comes back and there's just a bunch of Lokis running around with the variant on their back.
There's a dude in an Avengers campus. There's already there's already a Loki who is dressed in the TVA outfit that you can like that does like a show there. But yeah, it's gonna be a big cosplay thing. I'm sure of it. But yeah, so then Mobius gives him the jacket and has him go to a briefing, and this is and they all basically and the thing is like Hunter B-15 does not like Loki. It's pretty clear. And she basically like you know it's like has a reminder like he's that with the it's saying variant on the back like you know remember what you are with a cosmic mistake. Which I thought was like okay, that's kind of fucking harsh, but like you know. And then it's kind of so they're going through this briefing and basically they're just telling like you know the Minutemen B-15 that they're going after a Loki variant. That's what's doing all the murders. And I have this written down as well that this Loki variants in general are the most like abundant variants that the TVA captures like ever. And so we get these really cool. This really cool like scene of like seeing all the various versions of Loki, and I just want to just have us like you know break it down for a second. So like we have Frost Giant Loki who like embraces Frost Giant side. I'm assuming is like Track Runner Loki. I don't really know what this is. I don't really know what it is. Like Track Runner Loki, Ogre, like Muscular Loki.
I think that's Hulk Loki, maybe.
Well, it's Hulk Loki. I mean,
I don't know. Looks like it.
Yeah, let me like full screen it for a second. Yeah, but like you know Hulk Loki, I assume, and then like there's this Viking like Scandinavian looking like Loki, and there was another Loki that like didn't even look. It wasn't Tom Hiddleston. It was just another dude, but he had like goat horns or whatever. But yeah, I love this. I think. I like Track Runner or like Sport Loki, like Athlete Loki. That one's pretty funny. But I like Frost Giant Loki. That one's pretty cool in my opinion. I don't know which one is y'all's favorite variant that they show of Loki.
I think we have some material for what if right here.
Definitely.
Just saying. Definitely.
I don't know. I just thought this scene was great. It's one of my favorite scenes in the second episode.
Except also too, that made me kind of ask myself a question that I actually wonder if other people could answer it for me.
Mm-hmm.
So the first two episodes, out of the first two, I was constantly having to run these questions that's in my head, like how does the sacred timeline work? How do variants work and stuff like that?
Yeah.
So try to correct me if I'm wrong. So at any point when someone veers off the sacred timeline, it's called a nexus event, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
And so, like, according to Miss Minutes, it can be something simple as someone having to be late for work or something like that. It's all outcomes are predetermined, as discussed. Like, it's in episode 2, actually. It's between Loki and Mobius. So every time that someone, sets off, it's on this path, they have that time, it's reset, so that certain type of branch is clipped off. It's taken away, thus ensuring the flow of the timeline. So if all this has been one timeline, the sacred timeline, like if Loki, I just don't know if I'm thinking about this right. So if all these events happened with the variants, like how does time work? Like how does prime timeline Loki? Is it because of people? Is it because the TVA goes into the future, takes these out, so that way prime timeline Loki, but doesn't know about this happening?
Yeah, I think that's basically what it is.
It's because, like, it's something that it's someone said to me, like, how could he not remember any of this, or like whatever? But part of me is trying to justify it in my head that like the TVA goes ahead. It's in like at any point as to where like they see a event happening and takes it out, and so they either like it's erase that variant or like imprison them or something like that, or like capture them because I think these variants are people they captured. Is that what they said, or erased?
Yeah, variants. Yeah, these variants are people that they captured and then basically like clipped off, like like because if they're still alive, then well, actually no, I mean like because like when like they get arrested, they reset the timeline around them so that like it just goes back to normal,
right?
But they're still like they're like living proof that that like branched off timeline still exists, so they can't be around for that. So in order for like make sure that there are no loose ends, they also like prune the variants themselves. That's how I think of it. But also at the same time, like when a branched off timeline exists, the regular timeline is still happening, but like at the same time, that's how I think of it.
Okay.
Yeah, that's
so Frost Giant Loki is if at some point it's on the sacred timeline, that but Loki takes that path to becoming a Frost Giant.
Yeah.
So that is handled at some point by the TVA, and like it's reset, thus ensuring that in the sacred timeline at some point in the past, Loki doesn't
become a Frost Giant.
Like I don't mean to like slow down. It's our thing here, but like I'm just wondering like if it's as simple as someone having to it's be late for work. I think if we got a bit more examples of variants, it might make things less confusing.
Exactly.
Because like it's the only example it's of a variant we have is Loki, but we haven't really seen it. We only saw it happen once with him taking the Tesseract.
Exactly.
So I don't know. I feel like that this, not saying, not criticizing, but I'm saying that if they showed a bit more examples, it could make things less confusing for people.
That's true. That is one of my criticism with the show is that like they should have. I mean, they're probably going to go more in detail later on. But like for the early start of the show, they should have added a little bit more detail on like how like variants actually work. But I also think that's kind of a part of the mystery. So yeah, just so the things that was a good thought to go off of. But once that happens, that Loki kind of like has a goal, or like again that goal to like seek audience or the Time Masters, timekeepers to take their place, where they they investigate the 1985 Renaissance timeline where C20 was captured, which I thought was very interesting. And then also transitions to Renslayer, again talking to Mobius about like the fact that having this Loki around is a really bad idea. And because Loki's supposed to be a lying scumbag that like ruins everything. That's what the timekeepers have established with his purpose in the sacred timeline. So the fact that he's keeping him around to inevitably try to find another variant of a variant version of himself could like probably end up very, very, very badly in a very bad way. That was really interesting. And I think he signs a document. I forget what the document is that she gives him. I think it's just to make sure that like he doesn't like screw up. Mm-hmm. And I like how he signs it MMM, because for people who don't really read the comics, Mobius's real name is Mobius M. Mobius. It's like very funny. But there's that. So then now Loki basically because Loki keeps asking Mobius questions and all that, so he basically gets Mobius assigns him a job to basically like figure out let's learn about all your other variants, because the more variants you can learn about, maybe this variant we're looking for has like a similar pattern to them all. And I like how he goes to the library and asks the librarian, can you give me stuff on the timekeepers? No, that's classified. Can you give me stuff on the beginning of time? No, that's classified. The end of time, that's classified. So like there's clearly shit that like the timekeepers don't want anyone to know about. So that's why it's all classified. So there's that's again part of the mystery. So then once he starts figuring out all these other variants and gets all these other files, that's where he first learns about Ragnarok, how Ragnarok like happened in the sacred timeline, and the fact that like no one survived Ragnarok, which is interesting because like what's your thoughts on this? Because what's it called? Because obviously we know from watching Thor Ragnarok and Endgame, Infinity War, that like there are Asgardians that have survived.
Yeah.
So what were your thoughts on that? Because I kind of got confused.
I think that it's like a lot of them were killed when Thanos boarded the fucking ship.
That's true.
So
the evacuation. Yeah.
I don't remember if they even evacuated that many people, because there were a lot of bodies just all around.
Yeah, that's true. I don't know.
Except also too, like I'm pretty sure that there's a gap between having them be evacuated and Thanos having to board their ship.
That's true.
Yeah.
But I think upon reading that, my interpretation was that some parish, it's in the city, maybe. I don't know.
It was a thought that I had, but so learning about Ragnarok basically gives Loki the idea, like, wait a minute, like, don't you think that, like, if a doomsday event happens where, like, everyone died, everyone in the remaining vicinity of that event dies, and there's no witnesses, that if a variant were able to go into this timeline, it won't give off like it won't give off any temporal energy. So again, going back to the first episode with the whole temporal aura, so when a variant like exists, so when a person goes off the sacred timeline and creates a nexus event where a variant exists, they give off temporal energy, which is how the TVA tracks variants. So that's Loki's thing about. So if we go to doomsday events that don't have any variant, that has a variant in it, so if we go to doomsday events that don't have any temporal energy, that's where this Loki's hiding. And to prove that, they decide to go to Pompeii, which is like also my favorite scenes in the second episode, where Loki literally decides to like tell everyone in the vicinity that Pompeii is gonna fucking explode, that Mount Vesuvius is gonna explode, and that they're all going to die, and which he does, and then the volcano explodes, and then they realize, yeah, there's no energy giving off, so Loki's theory is correct. So what are your thoughts on that?
First off, Mikey, that's a pretty good picture right there.
I love it. It's a great photo. I love it a lot.
It's a definite meme template.
Yeah, it's great. So yeah, what are your thoughts on this scene, guys?
So first off, I think in that scene, if my studying is correct, he speaks Spanish in that scene, right?
I think he speaks Latin.
He's speaking Latin, yeah.
Okay, well,
As someone who took Latin.
Yeah,
Latin.
well, me too back in the day. But it's here I am. It's making claims like that. It was, again, it's great to see them jump through time and test these theories out. It was a very fun thing to do, and it was a very it's what the show said. It was a time hopping adventure.
Exactly. Well, go, Rose. You have any thoughts on this scene? Rose.
What? Sorry.
I said, do you have any thoughts on this scene?
I thought it was very funny. It kind of Doctor Who. It remind me that there's an episode of Doctor Who, for those who don't know, where the 10th Doctor and Donna go to Pompeii, and it's Volcano Day, and Donna tries talking to the to people in Latin, but because the TARDIS does a thing with the languages, it's just like she's talking nonsense, so it translates for the people that at the time, and it translates for her. So
that's cool.
Anyways, I was just reminded of that when Loki started speaking in Latin.
That's true. But so after they figure out that his theory was correct, so they find out that this Loki variant is hiding. I believe it's in 2055 in I think it's Nevada. I don't really remember.
Oh, it was
I thought it was like one of the deep South states, but
yeah. It's somewhere in I could have sworn it's in Nevada, but I could be wrong.
I mean, that would be a bit wild if it was, because the sea was literally fucking battering them.
Yeah, that's true. I mean, yeah, it was a hurricane was taking place, and basically that's an event where, there was an ant, where no one survived, and so yeah, that's basically where they're gonna find this new Loki. And I love this because they're this Loki's hiding in an evacuation center that's on a place called Roxcart. Which people who read comics, Roxxon is the fiendish corporation. They're kind of like what's an evil corporation that anyone can name off the top of their head?
Walmart.
Walmart. They are basically Walmart or any modern devious corporation that basically they're evil, dubious, no-gooders. And Roxxon, they invest in pharmaceuticals, fossil fuels, all that stuff. And so yeah, that's a really cool Easter egg for the fact that Roxxon's in the Marvel universe. I really dig, which they did in the Netflix shows first. But
I was gonna say, because as soon as I found that out, I was like, I swore they mentioned the company, and I think it was Daredevil.
It was in Daredevil. It was in season 2 of Daredevil with when Elektra showed up.
Yeah, it's the corporate meeting.
Yeah. She
shows
up in that. They reference in that, and it's also referenced in Cloak and Dagger. It's a huge part of Cloak and Dagger in the first season. Yeah, so I thought I should just mention that. So then
it's canon, people. It
is canon. It's canon. So
take that, folks.
Yeah. So then basically they end up finding this Loki variant. This Loki variant is possessing other people, enchanting other people, until where there's a fight happening between Loki and B-15 possessed by this Loki variant, and then it ends up these civilians that are possessed fighting Loki, and it's a really, really cool fight that takes place, and it showcases Loki's fighting skills and all that stuff. But then that's when this mysterious figure actually shows themselves. And I like how Loki like tries to like be like, listen, we can work together. Screw the TVA. We can do our own thing. Just let me on your plan, because if you're trying to like wreck time or whatever, and like I'm trying to like become the timekeeper, so it could work out for the both of us. And then we get this mysterious figure telling us that the story isn't about him, and then we're revealed that this variant of Loki is actually a female variant of Loki, who we'll know the name of next episode. And I fucking love the way she looks. I think she looks awesome.
Not Mephisto.
Not Mephisto. Yeah, sorry, it's not Mephisto.
Not to be a lesbian, but she's pretty.
But,
Sophia, but what's her name?
Wait, what the actress?
Yeah.
Oh, Sophia DiMartino, I believe her name is.
Yeah, I think you're right.
Yeah, Sophia DiMartino plays this Loki variant, and she makes a portal, escapes, and then I think while she does that, she activates her plan. So all those the way the time TVA, we didn't say this earlier, but the way they reset time, they use these these capsule things, like these bomb things. I don't know what they are. But these charges, they're the reset charges.
Yeah.
That basically so anything that's not a part of the sacred timeline gets destroyed. So what this Loki has been taking all these various reset charges from these Minutemen, and what she did was she set them all up to a charge, like an explosive charge, a timer that would send them towards different moments in various timelines, and then they would reset, and then basically she caused another a massive Nexus event, and that's where we see in the trailer where the multiverse starts to branch out, and then Loki decides, because it's in his best interest, to stop her, or to see what she's all about, and he ends up with her. And they both escape, and that's how episode 2 ends. So thoughts on this episode, people?
Some fun little Easter eggs I want to point out. It's in this thing here. As soon as the episode ended, I went back and I saw it's all it's all the it's the places that they branched off to.
Oh, yeah.
And here we see in this it's the place. It's of the Soul Stone.
Yes,
Boromir, and of course Asgard, and I think it's in another frame. They
went to Ego, didn't they?
Ego and Xandar.
Xandar.
Yeah, fun
Shit.
little. Yeah.
Are we gonna see Nova in this show?
Yeah, but that's something I saw and was like, oh, that's something.
Yeah.
It's something.
I was wondering. I was just because I also noticed that I watched videos and stuff where they talked about that, and I was just and there was a main discussion about it was are these actually significant, or are these just random Easter egg drops? Be hey guys, this is connected to all the Marvel universe. Remember, or as a reminder. I don't know. I'm curious why Ego. And it was Ego it was Ego in 1200 AD.
Yeah.
I was just okay, what's the significance behind this? But yeah. Thanks for talking about that, because I forgot about that that Easter egg. This episode's really good. It's I kind of called it. Shout out to me. Because I called it when we did the Marvel podcast. I would not be. I was surprised. I knew the villain of the show was going to be another Loki, of course. Because why not have that opportunity? Female Loki, I thought that would be the most possible outcome. That or Kid Loki. I love Kid Loki. In the comics, but yeah. So I'm happy that was right. So points for me. Yeah, but this episode was really good. It was very strong. Again, more expositional, but again, it was expositional, but it focused more on that mystery of can we actually trust the TVA or not? Is what they're saying actually true or not? Which is what is pretty much keeping me onto the show. Besides obviously like the actors and the performances and all that stuff. But yeah, it was a really good episode. So any other like Rose, do you have any thoughts on episode 2?
Not much. I don't have many thoughts. I just was very gay for Lady Loki.
Fair enough. Listen, fair enough. And she looks awesome. Like I love because she has like I don't know if you can see it in this presentation, but like she has one of the horns cut off, and that's like a cool nod to like I think like Loki when he was in the Agent of Asgard run where he actually had one of his horns cut off as well. So you can tell that they're taking like some stuff from the comics, so I think it's dope. But yeah, no, this episode was really good. The reveal was, I mean, predictable in my opinion, but I mean, I'm happy that it's like a female version of Loki, not just like another male version of the character. And again, the timeline, like breaking off. And then it's like if what they're saying, like if what they're saying is true about the timeline with the TVA, or even if it's not, like I feel like the screens kind of prove that it's true if what the timeline is true or not about I don't know. That's just a thought that I had just randomly. But yeah. So any other thoughts 2 before we move on to episode 3?
I have a couple other things to point out too.
Go ahead.
One also is something that just came to my mind. That it's that screen. But that looks a lot like something from Fallout, but New Vegas.
Yeah,
it really does. That's pretty cool.
This is actually the pocket dimension is actually the Fallout universe. So that's that. So yeah, I can see that.
But the first fight scene, it's when with Loki, it's the Lady Loki having to fight the TVA. It was set to the tune of Holding Out for a Hero, which of any Shrek fans know when freaking it's Mongo, he fights the castle and everything and he drowned. It still haunts me. It's this day. And he says, but be good. Shrek 2 is a great movie. Anyways, so that was cool. We saw of how a charge works, of the reset charge works. And we had some good conversations, some good dialogue of the character development between Mobius and Loki when they talk about the jet skis. That certainly won't come into play later at some point. Something that a show with time and time, its manipulation, has in this is, of course, the topic of free will comes up. Both Loki and Mobius have a conversation at some point about, well, is there any free will? Mm-hmm. And I thought again, it's great chemistry. It's with these two actors and some good writing. Seeing with about the stuff with Mobius saying, listen, it doesn't matter. Gods, whoever, we all come from the same place and it doesn't matter. And like stuff like that. And of course, but Loki kept on mentioning in this episode, so the Timekeepers are 3 lizards who made everything. And you believe that. The fact that they mentioned, so far it's in both episodes, about questioning the existence and the and like how real these Timekeepers are, makes me think, man, we are probably going to see the Timekeepers at some point in the show.
I hope so.
Especially considering of how much they mention them. It's it's a common trope in TV called I believe it's called the gun of Chekhov's gun, I think it's called, where something gets mentioned over and over and eventually it has to be seen at some point. But we'll see if they follow that or not. And another Easter egg, I think, for the comic book people is when the Mobius signs the file for the Renslayer, is he sees that pen is from like Franklin something high school.
Yeah. Okay, I didn't know what that was. I'm trying to I've been trying to figure it out. I don't know if it has any like comic book significance, like with the Franklin Institute thing. I don't know.
he mentioned like it was like, oh, like it's her, like, you know, it's her person on the inside or something like that.
I don't know. I have no idea. Like I don't know what that's alluding to, but maybe it will be revealed next in the second half of the season. Maybe, who knows. But yeah, so also real quick before we move on, Renslayer has been like, you know, when Mobius always asks her, hey, how are the timekeepers doing, she's like, oh, like they're doing fine. She always like, doesn't really answer the question. She just says, oh, they're fine, and that's it.
Mhm.
So I think she has something to do with the whole keeping the facade of the TVA alive, but but we'll talk about that like in theories. Yeah. So any other thoughts before we move on to 3?
Speaking, it's on the facade. Something to note about this episode was like, it's at the Roxxon place at Alabama. That's the state. That's where it takes.
Oh, it is Alabama. Okay.
When they were entering, it's the room. It's with all the survivors, and the guy said, "Oh, like are you from FEMA and whatever?" And like of how they searched through the bags, kind of aggressively. And with Mobius, he goes, "Listen, don't scare these people." Seeing how aggressive they are, it's a TVA. It's with like searching these people's bags.
Yeah.
And with it was something to take into account a little bit of how like aggressive they are. It's for being time police. And that gives some leeway into what we learn in the next episode.
Yeah, that's true. Oh, I also just remembered something that at the end, like near the end, like with the reveal, they find C20, and then she reveals it like, oh yeah, no, this Loki knows where the timekeepers are. I told her. So yeah, we're definitely gonna see the timekeepers, 100%, in this season. If they're even timekeepers at all, who knows?
Yeah.
But yeah, so I guess we'll just move on to episode 3. So episode 3 titled Lamentis, which is again, it will play into like the whole idea of this episode. But this episode starts out with this really crazy time loop sequence. The time loop scene where C20 basically is talking to Lady Loki, female Loki, whatever, and they're having drinks at this extravagant, like, you know, bar or restaurant, and you know, she's just talking about, oh, like, you know, how great our friendship is, and you know, like how you would trust me in with everything. It's like, yeah, of course. And like, also, like, tell me where the timekeepers are. And then every time she just gets a little bit weirded out that she resets it. And I was like, it was really cool. But I thought this was like the origin of like female Loki for a second.
Yeah, I also did that too.
My theory was that she's not actually Loki, which this episode proved that I was completely wrong. But like, but then this is how basically like it's showing how like her enchanting like actually works, and it will be explained further on. But yeah, and then it's revealed like, you know, this is fake, it's an illusion, and that this is how she got the information from C20, which is very interesting. So then after that, it transitions to where Loki and Loki actually ended up, and they ended up in a planet called Lamentis. Like, I don't know if it was 15 or 12. I don't remember what it was.
It's Lamentis 1 or something like
Lamentis
that.
1.
I think it's a moon.
I think it is a moon.
Yeah, it is a moon, and the planet's crashing down.
Yeah. So like, they ended up on this moon, and it's another doomsday.
Wait, hold on. How? I know this is fantasy, but like, one would imagine the moon would crash down, not the planet. I'm thinking I need to suspend my disbelief for 5 seconds.
I thought it was vice versa. I thought that Lamentis was a planet and that the moon was crashing in, but like, or being destroyed. But I think it's the other way around.
It's Lamentis 1, a moon that's about to be crushed by a planet, according to the files here.
Yeah. And what year was it? I forget what year it was that they ended
up. It was like
2077.
2077. Okay. Yeah. Yeah, so Lamentis. So basically, like this was one of the doomsday events that she had on the Tempad, which is the like navigator that TVA uses that she stole. And so basically, they're trying to, like, you know, get shelter, and at the same time, while they're trying to run for their lives, all these asteroids are trying to kill them, crashing into them. She's trying to have him get the tempad because he ends up using his sleight of hand to take it from her, which I thought was really cool. But it's a really dope scene. It's a really this went really sci-fi really quick.
Yeah, yeah.
This episode is the most Doctor Who of them all, I think.
Yes,
I also think that's true. Actually, no. Wait. I got it wrong. So before they get there, she ends up in the TVA first. And
Yeah.
They had a little bit of a fight there. Yeah, that was.
It's at the golden elevators, I think, is what they said.
Yeah.
This is Rose. I can see this is very Doctor Who. This is where I got the Doctor Who vibes. Was in this episode.
It's to chime in there. I think it's of the 3 shows so far. This episode felt the most. Well, no, it was the most cosmic MCU.
Yeah,
episode. It was, especially with the purple. It felt very much like Ragnarok. A little bit.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I can see that. I was getting more like Guardians vibes, but I could see some Ragnarok in there too. But yeah, so basically they come to their while they're trying to he basically he magics the tempad away somewhere. I don't know where the fuck he puts it. It's just he just used magic to make it disappear. But
it's heart, I think they said.
He said his heart, I think. Yeah, that's what he said. I thought it was a joke. I think it was a joke. I don't know.
Yeah, I think he just shoved it in a pocket dimension or something.
Yeah. But
obviously it wasn't a very big pocket dimension. I don't.
But then she explains basically this planet is about to be crashed. This moon's about to be crashed. About to be crashed by this planet that's that's destroyed. And the only way to get out is by going onto this ship, which is the evacuation area. And but the problem is the tempad is low on power. It literally runs on battery while they're fighting. And so the only way they can get power is by going to this spaceship, which is which is the biggest power source on the moon. And so that's basically the whole goal of this. And I love how they're trying they're going from place to place to find answers, and they find this woman, this elderly woman there, in a trailer. And we find out this is very important, that when Loki calls this his variant Loki, she basically says, "Don't call me that," and it's revealed that she prefers to go. She goes by the name Sylvie, which is interesting. And we don't really get any backstory on that with this episode. But I thought it was a very interesting point to make, that this Loki doesn't want to be called Loki at all. But yeah, so they find this elderly woman, and she tries to go to the direct approach, barge in, brutally interrogate her. And she's basically waiting with this ray cannon, so whoever opens her door gets blasted. So Sylvie gets blasted immediately. And then Loki tries a diplomatic approach and disguises himself as her dead husband. Mm-hmm. And says "Oh my gosh, it is me. I've missed you. I've missed you so much." And she shoots him too because he was an asshole and would never talk like that to her. And that's when she explains the whole idea of of the planet. They need to go to this shuttle and all that stuff. And yeah, so that right when after that scene happens, that's when they try to they try to sneak onto a train that will take them to this this Ark ship. That was very interesting. And he disguised himself as a guard, basically skipping the line to have Sylvie be his prisoner, and that's how they sneak onto the ship. And so we get we get some scenes of them on the ship, and we get to basically they calm down for a second and actually try to get to know each other. And they find out, they talk about how Loki talks about how he was adopted, and then the fact that he found out that he found out as an adult, and she found out way early on that she was adopted. as well, and we kind of get this interesting conversation about like their love lives. Like, you know, is there? She asked him, is there someone you're doing this for? Like, what's the goal here? And she said, yeah, like there was a postman that, you know, she has gone back to multiple times, but there's that. And then she asked him, like, are you a so what is there? Like, is there like was there a lost love, like a prince or a princess that you've had like while you were in Asgard? And he was like, you know, kind of both, which was like the whole big reveal that, yeah, like Loki's a bisexual character, and is kind of like gender fluid, obviously, with both variants, because in what we can assume that, you know, all Lokis across the multiverse are gender fluid, are, you know, bisexual.
I mean, it would be stupid if they weren't, because the
Exactly.
mythology they're based on.
exactly. So that was great that, like, you know, Marvel actually, like, you know, confirmed that, even though we all clearly knew, as well as even the comics themselves have touched on it as well, that he's, you know, gender fluid and bisexual.
It's to add on to that, if I can add a little of a quick note. I think the showrunner slash director Kate Herron, it's who I talked about before. She said in a recent interview that she herself is also bisexual, so to have that included in it was a big thing for her as well.
Yeah, and it needed to be done, and I think it's also implied that, like, because one of my theories that I also will elaborate, like, I think we're gonna actually like see other versions of Loki, like physically, not just like, you know, in passing. I would be surprised. I saw this another discussion on YouTube that, like, we see a version of Loki like with a boyfriend, like don't actually say he's bisexual, like actually show it. You know, like that'd be really cool. Yeah, that was a side thought. But yeah, they basically, like, this whole scene was basically like a character dissection, like on the character, and how, like, you know, I forget the word that they use. It's like a like how, like, they describe themselves, like, as, you know, like it starts with an H, like a somethingist being, like that's like it's they're very focused on, like, you know, like euphoria and pleasure and all that stuff, like that's like an excitement and adventure, which is how, like, you know, how Loki is, what a Loki is. I thought that was very interesting. And yeah, I don't really remember much of this scene besides, you know, the whole like bisexual reveal, because that was the most important part in my opinion. Did anyone have anything else that they can like elaborate from this scene that they got from?
I'm trying to remember this episode, because I only saw the episode. Well, actually, I saw it twice. They mentioned. I think they mentioned with Loki having to jot something down. I think that's what you were talking about. Like, oh, I'll put that down. She goes, no. But it is a scene where it's at this point in the episode is when the show starts to, you know, pump the brakes a little bit.
Yeah.
It has, well, again, I think it can be kind of like it's agreed upon that this episode was, you know, it slowed down the pacing, which I guess we'll see compared to the back half of the show, if that like affects the show, it's in a bad way or something, because this episode certainly was a slowed down character, you know, like, you know, but dialogue with two characters episode.
Yeah, exactly.
Some will like the slower pace, some may not, but it was obvious that this episode was it was a
filler episode, basically.
Well, I wouldn't say filler. It pumped the brakes a little bit.
Yeah, it did. I also say this. I just remembered that they do talk about like love, like how, like, they don't like the idea of love because love is like the ultimate mischief, and he explains later on that, like, love is basically a dagger in the back.
That's it.
Yeah.
And I thought that was very interesting.
And she's like, no, that's not a good way to put it. And he's like, damn, thought I had something.
Yeah, exactly. Like it's not a good metaphor to make.
I do have to walk my dog, and that's gonna be like 10 minutes. So I'm not sure if y'all will still be talking, but
we'll probably still be back. Yeah, you can.
Yeah, all right. I'll be back in a bit.
All right, but yeah. So yeah, after that conversation, that happens. You know, she passes out, she gets some rest, and then Loki wakes up to like, you know, having a shanty at the
Yeah.
bar. Oh, that was so much fun.
Yeah,
Like, he sings like an Asgardian song, and like they're just
yeah,
drinking.
you know, it shows that, but Loki is not all mischievous, you know.
Yeah, exactly.
It said it's I think it said it's on the subtitles. He was singing Asgardian,
Yeah.
which it translates to I'd want to say it was something but Nordic, maybe.
Asgardian, I just thought he was just speaking like just some like dead Nordic language, you know. I didn't
Mhm.
really, I don't really think anything of it.
Yeah.
But yeah, like he's just having a good time, getting drunk, and I love how he references Thor 1 and
Yes,
then another.
yes,
I was
yeah.
so happy.
Yeah, another.
It just another smashes the glass because like
Yeah.
again, all Asgardians do that apparently.
Mhm.
Yeah,
It's
sorry.
I had it's internally I had the same reaction when Jimmy Woo in WandaVision he showed the card at first. I was like, yes,
Exactly.
I like that.
It was that type of moment.
Mm.
But yeah, so after that, that's when a passenger's like, yeah, these guys are suspect, and then calls the guards on them. That's when they have a huge fight, and you know, Loki throws the guard out the window, and he ends up getting pushed out the window himself, and then Sylvie just runs after him. And I want to take note here that like after when that scene happens, she gets rid of her horn headband, and like she doesn't have it like throughout the rest of the episode. Is interesting. It's kind of like a quick wardrobe change. But yeah, then after the so then they're basically they're walking to the arc like on foot after that, and I think that like for our audience, if we're when we were if you want to like check us out when we watch the trailer for Loki for the Marvel podcast, but we thought that like they remember that scene again with that purple aesthetic in the trailer everyone thought was Black Widow. I think that was just talking to Sylvie. I think that will probably happen. That scene will probably that shot will probably happen next episode. I thought it was gonna happen here,
Yeah.
but I don't think Black Widow's gonna be in the show.
No. Now that you mention it too, yeah, because I see that now because but you know, I think it was back in the trailer. It's like you know, it's from behind. It's from a behind shot, and that made people think like, oh, like he's traveling through time. He's on. I don't know if they had purple on the Vormir, really. I don't think it was purple. It was dark.
Yeah, it wasn't purple.
But yeah, that's not Scarlett Johansson. Yeah,
that's unfortunate. But also I forgot to mention as well, like during their conversation in the train, she mentions like you know like their mother, like his mom.
Yeah.
Wants to know like what she was like. She wants to know like what she was like because she doesn't really remember her mom that much. Which we'll find out the reason why. And like she taught him everything he knew, his magic, all that stuff. And it's also explained. I don't know if she explains it in the previous scene or this scene how her enchantment actually works. No, she explains it in the in this scene actually. So she explains how her enchantment actually works, and it's the idea of going into someone's mind and casting an illusion. Inside their mind, which is like and you use a fond like their fondest memory, and that's how you're able to like eventually like control them. Well, that was very interesting, and we get this really important reveal that like when she did it on C20, that you know, she had to pull a memory that was like that. She had to pull like through 100 years worth of memory, and he's like, how is that possible? Because you know. Aren't the TVA created like by the timekeepers? So how would they have 100 years worth of memory? And she's like, oh no, they're variants just like us. So
yeah, she mentions Earth. Yeah,
and she mentions she mentions like that she had the memory was on Earth. And so yeah, what are your thoughts on? I was okay. This makes a lot more sense why they have so many fucking people as employers.
Yeah, and that makes you think back to how do they not know what a fish is? Exactly. And like you know, how do they not know it's what a fish is? It does raise some questions, which I presume they'll answer very soon. But that makes you think like, how much it's of the TVA is a facade, how much of it is legit, what do they know and what do they not know, what do the civilians at the TVA know and what do the time, and like, it's what do the police know, like, is there some propaganda going on? That's what it seems. It's kind of like a big brother type of thing, you know what I mean?
Exactly.
It's kind of like, if you believe it, then it's true, like, what is truth? And that, and that falls into some greater implications across the MCU. Is are the timekeepers real? We don't know. And like, it's like what was said, it's by Loki back in episode 2. Is there any such thing as free will? If everything is predetermined, then what, it doesn't exist. And now with him having to hear it's but one thing from Mobius, and like, that brings in a question about Mobius. Is Mobius a good guy? Is he a good guy who was also fed false information, which I'm hoping is the route we're taking,
Exactly.
or is it something more sinister?
Exactly.
You know what I mean? And so there's definitely some propaganda going on, is what it seems like.
Exactly. Yeah. I like that they're going this route. They're like, yo, everyone's a variant and they just don't know it, which is basically why, again, force feeding that propaganda of like, that like they were all created by the Time Masters, because like how are they gonna keep them online if they all know their variants? I would assume that like all their memories were wiped. Well, not. So there's that. Yeah, that was a great like twist of information, and realize that the timekeepers are full of shit. The TVA is full of shit, and Renslayer, I feel like Renslayer like knows it, in my opinion. But yeah, so once that happens, they manage to go to the arc, well, the town that's near the arc where the arc's taking off, and we get this amazing fight where like this, they've locked down the city, everyone's like freaking out trying to escape, and we get this like this amazing, like, it's like it looks like a one take, it's a one sequence. I know it's not, because they do like some pan away like up shots and like kind of like where they add like CGI in post to like it's a oneer, but we get this amazing like escape sequence where they basically it's Sylvie and Loki racing to try to get to the evac ship. And so it's like, so again, buildings are like falling down. Loki displays an amazing amount of power where like he literally stops a building from falling down and reverses it.
His telekinesis, right?
Dude, like, we didn't know Loki could do that shit. Like,
yeah,
it's really dope. And then but worst case scenario happens where I think the ship either takes off or it explodes. And that's what happens.
Because like it's we see the planet start to crumble, and like all, and like all the it's the chunks and parts of the planet, its debris falls from the sky and crashes into the city.
Exactly.
And I think but that debris crashed into the Ark, essentially.
Okay. Yeah, for sure. I mean, I don't know. I just don't remember if it exploded or if it just like collapsed or if it actually took off. But I know for a fact it didn't take off now. So there's that. But like, also, wait, I forgot to mention that like, when Loki got off the train, like he landed on the temp pad. So like they were assuming that their only way off like was not to like go charge the temp pad, but like to actually get off the planet.
Right.
So yeah, so then now that the arc is done, they're just, the ending of the show is just them being like, just like, yeah, we're gonna fucking die because there's no way out.
It's an abrupt ending. It was very
very abrupt.
Very very abrupt ending. Like it's the melancholy.
Exactly.
But yeah, it was an abrupt ending and like cut the credits.
Yeah, cut the credits. Yeah, exactly.
Cut the credits. But Yeah, it seems like they're screwed, but we have 3 more episodes to go. So
Yeah. So we'll see what actually happens. But yeah. So Alec, what are your thoughts on this episode of episode 3?
Well, the episode 3, I enjoyed it a lot. It's been mentioned before. It pumped the brakes a little bit, but I enjoyed it because of the aesthetic, and also something else we have yet to talk about. The music, the score.
Oh, the score's great.
Yeah, it was very
It's very Doctor Who.
yeah, very Doctor Who. Yeah, and like a pheromone is
Mhm.
is also involved. It's with the score, and I thought that's super cool. But no, episode 3, it's different from the ones that came before. I don't know if it's gonna. I don't know if compared to 4, 5, and 6, it will. I don't know if the next 3 are different, is going to be the odd child out.
Mhm.
It seems like the first episodes were very green and orange and gold, but this was purple. It felt like the odd child a little bit.
For sure.
It's with the character focus. It's more, it felt very small scale. Well, not small scale, but it's more tightly focused, not big picture stakes, really.
Exactly.
And I liked it. I liked it for what it was. That action sequence was very well done. I
Very well
presume
done.
that took them a lot of filming
Mhm.
to do, and I can't wait for. I don't know if they plan to show it in the behind the scenes specials.
They probably will. It'll probably be on like Assemble or something like that, maybe.
Yeah, and also not to get off topic, but I heard that the shows won't get a physical release.
I mean, I wouldn't put it past them.
No, I thought I saw a tweet saying like of how they won't get one.
I mean, I don't know.
It's all digital.
I mean, makes sense. I mean, only way you can watch is by getting that Disney Plus subscription.
Yeah, I mean that's how they make money. So
yeah. But no, episode 3 was my least favorite because it pumped the brakes on like what they were doing, like what they were doing in the first 2. But I did like, again, we get more information, we get more of them like actually like interacting with each other going forward and kind of being like unreluctant partners in a way. The only thing I don't like again with this episode, like there's less Mobius because I love Mobius.
Yeah.
There's no TVA presence at all besides the beginning where she shows up in the TVA briefly, but we don't get any Renslayer, we don't get any Hunter B-15, we don't get any Mobius. So I mean, it is what it is. But again, we got to focus on just these 2 characters interacting, which I loved.
Yeah.
And I mean, it was solid. But again, it was a little not filler, but it was just a little slow.
Yeah.
But I thought it was good. I really like Sophia DiMartino as Sylvie though. 100%. I think she's great. Even though she kind of doesn't. I mean, I don't think she looks a lot like Tom Hiddleston.
I don't think she's supposed to because the character itself is gender fluid, right?
I mean, yeah, but like I would assume that a Loki variant would, even if it's a man or a woman, would look similar to each other, like have a resemblance.
Yeah, I gotcha. I mean, I don't know.
Yeah.
If I ever meet a doppelganger who's like the opposite,
for sure.
gender, I'll then start to judge. But yeah.
Yeah, for sure. But yeah, overall, good episode. All 3 episodes are really good. But all right, so Alec, you ready for the fun part, the part that you don't like?
Oh boy, do I?
Yeah. So we're gonna talk about some theories here. I got some theories. I will say this because again, it kind of ties into comics as well. But I think with the whole TVA thing, I could be wrong because again, this is a theory. But I think it will be revealed that there aren't 3 timekeepers.
It's just one.
It's just one, and it's this motherfucker right here because this motherfucker is Kang the goddamn Conqueror. He's Kang the Conqueror, okay? Because in the comics, Renslayer, Renslayer is essentially she's Kang's girlfriend. Like she's his right hand, and his girlfriend in the comics. So I think that the whole idea of the timekeepers is bullshit. That Kang is basically the one true timekeeper, or even better, I think we even mentioned this in the in the uh the Marvel podcast, the MCU podcast, but like maybe these three are actually different versions of Kang throughout time. Because Kang is kind of like, if you ever watch The Flash, Kang is kind of like he's like Professor Zoom, like he's like Reverse Flash. Like he's a constant throughout time. If you kill a Kang, there's always gonna be another Kang from the timeline coming back. Like he always comes back. So like I think that could be the case. And plus, like if you see right here, just to get off of this real quick, if I can screen share one of the previous slides, they kind of make one of the Kangs look like Jonathan Majors, who's playing Kang in what's it called, Ant-Man and the Wasp, Quantumania. If you see right here, just real quick, they practically, he looks like this center dude looks like Jonathan Majors. I could see it. But I mean, that's my theory, that like, this is teasing Kang. This is, Kang is the main timekeeper here, and like, and he's not doing it for order. He's doing it because he's a selfish prick, because he's Kang. And also, to go along with that, the idea that that this whole like multiversal war thing, like there isn't one single timeline. Like the multiverse is supposed to exist. It's just that like Kang is just pruning the multiverse the way he sees fit, so that his agenda is always met, that like his plans can always see through to their plan. So that's what I think the old thing that they're doing with the times heroes.
Hello, sorry.
We're just going over theories now. Okay. But that's my theory. Kang is behind this shit. He's behind this shit. Is fucking Kang. So thoughts on that.
Well, like, I'm trying to think about that because but there is certainly a gap. It's as to when a person is cast and when they're announced.
That's true.
But I'm trying to mentally think, because the show started filming before COVID, because back at Super Bowl 2020, we got a slight piece of footage.
Yeah, we got the whole. It was just the Disney Plus thing,
right from the Super Bowl. Yeah. The teaser, it's of it's a Falcon, WandaVision, and Loki. All three started filming prior to COVID, so prior to March 2020. So they got, of course, shut down. It's around that time, and I don't know if at some points they had time for having to, it's Right Stuff again, because after WandaVision, but we found out that some stuff, it was filmed but wasn't shown in the thing, and I'm just trying to think, like, at what point, because I think the news for Jonathan Majors was it was last year, last fall, I want to say, fall of 2020. I want to say that, and so after March of 2020 is when stuff shut down, and then it went back to filming, and then post happened. So again, Mikey, I'm not trying to disprove your theory. I'm just trying to think, I don't know if it adds up. Yeah,
exactly. Yeah, I mean, I don't know. I just think it would be cool if it was Kang.
It would be. I'm not saying it's not. I'm just trying to think, I don't know if the timing would work out.
Yeah, I mean, it's true. But also, even if the timing doesn't work out, casting wise, Renslayer is a part of it, is affiliated with Kang.
Right,
it has to be Kang.
But keep in mind, for WandaVision, they teased us hard with Agatha and Mephisto with but they and the whole point of the show was who's Ralph? because
Gotcha.
Ralph was a name that he used.
Yeah.
But however, it turns out, as far as we know, it was Agatha all along.
Exactly.
Yeah. So not saying it could happen again, but keep in mind what they did with WandaVision.
That's
you know what I mean?
That's true. I see that. Do you have what are your thoughts, Rose, if about the TVA's real agenda?
I mean, I feel like if the timekeepers are real, again, to bring up Doctor Who, kind of in the recent era of Doctor Who, Time Lords have kind of been a little bit evil, and maybe, I don't know, but maybe they're not going to go that way. But maybe there's going to be a civil war in the TVA. I don't fucking know. I mean, that's probably going to be I just remembered that there's 3 episodes left, so never mind. Maybe not. Maybe not.
I don't know if we'll go that far. But I do think that the TVA, now it's revealed that we said when you were gone that all of the workers are variants, and that maybe they will get their memories somehow, and maybe burn the TVA to the ground. Who knows?
Mm-hmm.
I could kind of see that happening, but I don't know. We'll see. I don't know how they're gonna do that in 3 episodes, But here's another thing that I thought. This is kind of a stretch, a stretch. Yeah, it's a huge fucking stretch. So when they talk about the whole multiversal war thing, in the beginning, the first episode with Miss Minutes, I was thinking what's a multiversal war in Marvel Comics that's been done over and over and over. So I was like, yo, what if they're low-key kind of teasing Secret Wars a little bit, that would be kind of sick. And if you don't know, for people, Secret Wars, Secret Wars has happened I think twice. So back in I think the 80s, either 70s or 80s, and the recent one in I think 2014, I believe. I could be wrong. But whereas basically again it's a multiversal event where again in the 80s was the Beyonder who decided to take all of the heroes and villains and have them fight each other. And the recent one, it was Doctor Doom who had the powers of the Beyonder, who decided to take the multiverse.
When Doctor Doom was a god or whatever?
He was a literal god, and he literally took because there's a thing called the incursions that were happening where a bunch of multiversal planet Earths would collide into each other, and either one would be saved and one would be destroyed. It was dumb, but it's whatever. But it was so basically he took pieces of these dying multiverses and combined them into one world called Battle World. And again, in the old Secret Wars, the Marvel characters fought on Beyonder's version of Battle World. So I think the whole idea of maybe the multiversal war could maybe potentially lead to maybe the next big thing with phase 4, phase 5, phase 6, could potentially be Secret Wars. Who knows? That's just a thought I had. What are your thoughts on if this is the case or not? That's a little tease.
I'm sorry to chime in, but speaking of the word but multiverse, that's been in the MCU for the past 2 years. It's because the first mention of the word of the multiverse was in the trailer for Far From Home when
but that was Beck being lying.
Right.
But they said it's in the trailer, according to Fury, Snap, snapped, tore a hole, it's in our dimension and whatever.
Yeah.
And it's in the movie itself. It's Parker mentions, are you saying it's a multiverse? But as you said, yes, it was him being a liar.
Yeah.
And then, but it's the fans keep saying the word, it's multiverse keeps being dropped. And with so many theories about Spider-Man No Way Home,
that
it's all fuel to the fire. And if they go this route, it'd be big.
Yeah. Rose, you have any thoughts on this
well,
idea?
I haven't read many comics.
No, I know both of you haven't, but that's just a thought.
I mean, like, I feel like they said some. Oh wait, they probably said like Time War or something in the series. Never mind. I thought they said Secret Wars and
they said Multiversal War, and I was like, yo, what was the most like Multiversal War, Secret Wars, like like.
I mean, my first thought was like when all the Spider-Man came together to kick the vampire dude's ass.
Spider-Verse. That's true. Spider-Verse. That's also a multiversal war, I guess. It was, but yeah, I mean, I just have thoughts. I mean, I could be very wrong, but I mean, I'm probably wrong. I mean, I can accept that.
Like, I'm not good at theorizing. I just ride along. I enjoy my show for like 50 minutes or whatever, and then I'm like, okay, that's great, and then I sit back and I go to something else.
Fair enough. All right, so I'll just go to my last one, which is like kind of like an easy one that we could all talk about actually. That Sylvie, the character of Sylvie, possessing people, and the word enchanting has been used multiple times.
I think I know where this is going.
Yeah, it's kind of obvious. I think that by the end of the series is that this is basically the MCU's version of the Enchantress, who I've been waiting to see ever since like the Thor movie first came out. I was like, why have we not seen the Enchantress? Like, because she's a very important character to like Thor, the Thor mythos, and like especially with Loki as well. But like basically, like I feel like they're doing their own take where it's basically combining Loki and the Enchantress. Having this variant of Loki be not, especially because she doesn't like being called Loki. She's gonna basically like call herself the Enchantress by the end of the show. So yeah, what are your thoughts on this?
I kind of like there was like a whole thing that there was like someone being like, it's kind. I don't know if this is intentional on the part of the writer and stuff.
Yeah,
but like it's kind of like feels a little bit like a trans allegory. I'm a trans woman, so like and it feels like she's like, don't call me Loki. Like, I don't want to be called my dead name. Don't call her dead. I don't fucking know if that's it, but
yeah.
Still, trans rights. That's all I have to say. About that.
So, Alec, do you have anything to say on Sylvie possibly being the new the Enchantress for the MCU?
Could you give a brief backstory on her history with
Thor? Is basically just she's an Asgardian. She's an Asgard. There's different versions of her, but like the one that I mostly know is that I've seen the comics and like in some of the animated material that the Marvels had is that like she's an Asgardian who was basically in love with Thor. Thor chose Sif over her, and basically she like devotes her life to like ruining Thor's life, and that's why her and Loki team up a lot because they have the same goal of like being like fuck Thor. And she's like one of the most powerful magicians, second to Loki. Like that's how like powerful she is. So yeah, and she's always been she's been across Marvel Comics and has other characters like for decades. So yeah, what are your thoughts on this?
Well, I certainly think that I think it's an original take on it. I think because as is most of the MCU. We'll see. They said that the show is going to have a lot of twists and turns and revelations, and I think her identity is certainly going to be revealed one way or another.
Yeah, of course. I mean, I hope they do it. I'm happy they're taking this route. They just have like just taking creative freedom with the Enchantress character because again, people have asked for the Enchantress, just like how people have asked about Beta Ray Bill in the Thor movies for like years. So like them taking away like her being like an a woman that's just thirsty for Thor and having her just like having her be her own character, but like a branch of a mix of Loki and her own character, and Enchantress from the comics. So that's like a really interesting route to take that I think works really well. So And plus, the moment I saw this was a blonde woman, I was like, this has to get. She's gonna be the Enchantress. That's why I thought originally, like before. Well, obviously in episode 3, it's confirmed like she is a Loki variant. I thought that like she was actually the Enchantress that just took the place of that is just saying that she's a Loki variant just so that like she can just accuse Loki of some shit and have the blame put on him. That's what I thought was gonna happen. But now I can just see that like they're just combining what works with what's great about Loki, what's great about our Enchantress from the comics, and let's just combine that and just do our own thing. So if she is, that would be great. If not, and also like I don't think it's a great idea to just keep calling her Lady Loki all the time.
No, it's gonna be Sylvie for now.
Yes, or Sylvie. But yeah, who knows? But yeah, those are like my theories I have. The TVA is bullshit. Kang's behind the whole thing. Secret Wars ? And Sylvie's the Enchantress. That's basically it.
I have to go now.
Yeah, we're gonna end it.
Oh, okay. We're ready. Okay, so, okay, that's good.
Yeah, but just so now that's the theories are done. So just final thoughts on everything. Of I don't know, just those 3 episodes. What do you expect to see from the next 3? All that stuff. It's great. The show's good. Watch this show. I'm done. Alec, do you have anything to say?
I like what we're having so far. It's very MCU. It's I like the fantasy sci-fi element. I've talked about it a lot before, but I think in the second half we will get a showing of the Timekeepers, if they're real or not, and I'm very excited for that. Is the variant, but Loki, is he going to survive and carry on? We'll see. But also another quick thing too about it's about the cast. We also at some point have the actor. It's Richard E. Grant.
That's true.
He's supposed to appear at some point, and I like him a lot. So
he's been in Doctor Who. There we go.
Yeah, he's the new Doctor.
In 2003 he was a potential Doctor, but then in like a Doctor Who canon is weird, but also he was in Doctor Who in the more recent show as a villain called the Great Intelligence.
Gotcha. Gotcha. But yeah, that's a good point to make. But yeah, I'm excited to see what with this Loki variant, like what is when the show ends, like what are they gonna do with him after? I think the show could get a second season. I guess would be the only Marvel show to get a second season.
It was confirmed.
It was?
Yeah, it was confirmed.
Holy shit! Okay, look at that. Yeah. I'm just excited to see like if I'm right with my theories. Hopefully, I'm right. Yeah, I'm really liking this. Am I liking this more than Falcon Winter Soldier? Entertainment wise, no. Entertainment wise, I think this is more entertaining than Falcon Winter Soldier. But that's still my favorite for now. But like, I'm really digging the show more than WandaVision. To be honest with you. Rose, anything to say to close off?
I am excited. I also kind of want to see the ramifications of the time bombing.
Yeah.
And I know it's probably not. It's probably going to be semi-tragic of an ending for one or both the Lokis, the variants. But I hope for a happy ending for both of them.
Yeah.
I think it would be funny to have 2 Lokis just pop up in the normal MCU, but
yeah, for sure.
I don't know.
But we'll just end it right here. But yeah, thanks Alec and Rose for joining me. I really appreciate it. Thanks for the people who were watching and will watch this. Like, comment, subscribe. What are your thoughts on the show? Leave it. We want to know in that comment section below. So we'll just stick around. We'll wait for the show to end. We'll do another second part to discuss, I think 4 through 6 or the second half of the season. And so I was like, do that stuff, like, comment, subscribe, get home safe, and we'll catch y'all next time. All right. Bye, everyone.
Bye.